All right. So the long-awaited, or I guess not super long-awaited, because it had only been planned for about a week, if memory serves. But the long-awaited Putin-Trump summit took place last Friday on August 15th in Alaska, since it's so close. And well, there's a lot of things to say about it. Um, my first impression, I guess, is that, or well, you know what? Let me give more of the rundown. Then I'll give impressions. So the meeting lasted about 3 hours. Uh, Trump said that the talks were productive, but he also made a funny quote. He said, "There's no deal until there's a deal." So obviously, no agreement was actually reached. It's kind of a funny Trumpism. And what we have learned since the meeting is that Trump has since reversed his desire for a ceasefire and is now advocating for just jumping straight towards like a peace agreement, peace negotiations. And the difference between that is that a ceasefire would halt hostilities for a time and it would allow the Ukrainians to regroup. Uh, obviously the Russians don't want that because the Russians are winning right now. That's probably why Trump convened this meeting in the first place, is because things are getting very hairy for our Ukrainian friends. But a peace agreement would more so be in Vladimir Putin's behavior because it would probably draw down the war and he'd be able to likely take some territory. But we can go into that later. I'll go into kind of my impression of it now, and then we can talk about strategy, I guess, as well. But I'll go into my impression, and then I'd want to hear your impression.
Sure.
When I first heard that they were going to meet, I was like, oh boy, what if Trump really puts the screws in Putin and gives him the Zelenskyy treatment or something? That would be nice. But in typical Trump fashion, he was very favorable towards Putin, unfortunately. Uh, and ultimately, Trump doesn't really have a lot of cards here. Russia is winning this war, and beyond like joining the war ourselves, there's really not a lot more we can do. The secondary sanctions and all that are pretty detrimental to our economy. So it's not something he wants to implement. Russia's pretty sanction proof at this point. Uh, I guess if I'm just saying first impressions, I'm just disappointed. I'm just disappointed. It's just kind of sad because it seems like Trump really is in between a rock and a hard place. Like there's really nothing he can do at this point that would make anyone happy. I feel like it's just disappointing it's come to this. I don't blame him entirely for the situation he's been put in, but I do blame him a lot, and I'm very disappointed. And what are your impressions? What were you optimistic about this meeting, or did you kind of did your
Yeah, well,
expectations?
listen. If it had been a competent leader on our side, then I would have probably expressed some amount of optimism because as I'm sure you know, negotiations, peace deals, they take time. I think we talked about the Iran nuclear deal on this podcast before. the thing almost took 2 years of negotiations, right? I mean, there's when you have to overcome the level of distrust both parties have for one another, that can take time. But the fact is that I don't think Trump has no ideology. He has no geopolitical aims. So, like, basically, he's just trying to figure out what the selling price is for Ukraine so that way he can get this war over with, get his fucking peace prize that he's so obsessed with. So, I mean, I was a little disappointed just and I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it was very quickly I was like this is not gonna go well. Because I don't know if you watched that press conference, he didn't provide a single specific point on what they talked about or what Russia conceded or anything really. So it
Well,
makes no sense.
yeah, it sounds like no concessions were made. I mean, honestly, I don't think Russia can. If anything, it sounds like we were the ones that conceded because Trump is no longer looking for a ceasefire. He's just going straight towards the peace agreement.
Right.
And I mean, obviously this theoretical peace agreement has yet to be fleshed out, but we can guess what it is. I mean,
It's going to be a land
the
for peace
rest,
deal. It's going to be a land for peace deal, obviously.
oh yeah, and it's gonna be like, uh, okay, there are like four oblasts, and if you look at a map of Ukraine, like if you look at a map of Russia and Ukraine, and then you look at where Crimea is, so Russia almost touches Crimea. They're not it's not contiguous. Their borders. If you want to say Crimea is part of Russia, it's like a non-contiguous border, so it's not touching by land.
Hmm.
It almost is. It's very close, but
Similar to
what
Alaska,
Russia
right?
wants, huh?
Similar to
Oh
Alaska,
yeah,
right?
same
It's not
same with Alaska. We're
it
almost
doesn't connect
yeah
to the mainland. Correct. Okay.
yeah, but so basically Russia wants a land bridge to Crimea, and they want the four oblasts that make that land bridge, which would be, Luhansk, Donetsk,
Donetsk.
which way
Yep.
they basically already have these. They're still, a little contested, but those ones are pretty much all Russia's right now. Then Zaporizhia and the Kherson region or oblast of Ukraine. The Kherson region actually touches Crimea, and Zaporizhia touches Kherson. And so once they have all those, they'll have a warm water, that warm water port in the Black Sea, and that's kind of their aim,
Hmm.
getting that warm water port where they can ship year round, don't have to worry about the Arctic ice. So I think that's like the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. We know what they want. I think, the Zelensky and a bunch of our NATO allies were here today. We're obviously filming this on Monday, folks, and they basically said, we don't. They didn't. They weren't as firm. Well, first, so Zelensky, since the start of the war, has been very like clear. We are not going to give back 1 inch of Ukrainian soil. You know what I mean? And now we didn't hear really any language about that today, right? He talked about like security guarantees and all of that stuff. So not gosh, I just feel so bad for the Ukrainians because basically they don't have control over their own destiny right now. It seems like because Trump is so desperate for a deal, just any for the sake of a deal. And Putin is, of course, dog walking him and playing him like a fiddle. I don't know if you saw where he said that this war wouldn't have started if Trump was president. I mean, if you don't think that that's like him manipulating Trump to get on his good side for these trilad negotiations, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the dude is clearly like smirking and saying all of this just to basically show Trump that like, hey, here's what you need to hear to feed your own ego. Give me what I want. And it's embarrassing to tell you the truth.
Oh, it's beyond embarrassing watching the leader of the free world just get played with, basically. I mean, and honestly, it at this point, I get there is value in like not going to war and all that. I would generally say I'm, pretty anti-war. I just feel like at this point it is so humiliating. I feel like we almost have to go to war with Putin. Like I almost feel like we should invade Russia, like through Alaska, through Europe, just to like put him back in his place because right now he dog walked Trump. He dog walked Trump. I mean, nobody can look at that and see it any other way. I mean,
Well, they'll show
you
you
know.
they'll show you that video of I don't know if you saw this, but Trump threw like a B-2 stealth bomber right over his head, right? And they'll be
Hmm.
like, "Oh, who's the real man in charge?" Like I saw the PBD podcast, the Patrick Bet David podcast, they were talking about how, oh my God, Trump owned the conversation. He owned the handshake. Look at this handshake. And I was like, did you guys not watch the press conference? The press conference, Putin spoke for like 30 minutes. And then Trump was like, yeah, we're close to a deal. We don't have a deal yet. We'll have a deal when we have a deal. And that's it. Goodbye. And it's like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, I don't know if I agree about like going to war with Putin. I don't even know if I agree with like regime change, which I think has been like a an American goal for quite a while now. But I'll tell you what, I do not like. I mean, this is capitulation almost. This is unbelievable. I honestly cannot believe that we're at this level where, you know, he tells Zelenskyy that he has to say thank you. I know, Vance says you have to say thank you, and you're threatening World War III. You're threatening World War III. But then the guy who's actually threatening World War III is standing right across from him, and he's like, he can't help himself. He's like, we tried to get along, but it was a little impossible because of the Russia hoax. Despite the fact that the Russia hoax was not as much of a hoax as Trump likes to lead on. You know what I mean? It's like this is all. I can't. What reality do these people live in? You know?
Yeah, the whole that's just pure cope, honestly. Um, like you said, Patrick Bet David. I didn't see that particular instance, but I totally believe you because he's so the type. Like, oh, Trump mogged him on the handshake, and our leader is like 6'3" and you know
Oh yeah, they broke
Putin gets a
down.
manlet.
Dude, it was hilarious. They broke down his body language. They broke down the way he walked, the way that he shook his hand, the way that they stood next to each other. They broke down everything except for the content of the speech of the press
Yeah,
conference. And it's like you guys are beyond ridiculous right now. I mean, they just can't help themselves but wrap their lips around the colon of Donald Trump. They can't help themselves. It's unbelievable. And they're not the only ones. I'm not trying to pick on them. I actually am a huge fan of the show, but my God, are they wrong on this one? I mean, this is unbelievable.
yeah, I totally get the instinct to cope, but we've got to move past it. Like everybody has got to move past it because it's really doing nobody any good. I mean, it this was an L. This was an L 100%. But yeah, I want to go back to kind of touching on Trump's like Russophilia, like because obviously when you see him interact with Putin versus the way he treats Zelensky, Zelensky is ostensibly the ally here. Trump seems to give a lot, like a boatload of respect to Putin, and he treats Zelensky as nothing more than some annoying vassal, that has to be tamed, really. And I get that the dynamic is, like Zelensky is a subordinate and Putin is like you know a true like challenging enemy. But do you think that maybe there is some strategy behind this? Do you think that maybe there's like a grand strategy behind all that where Trump wants to like re-ingratiate Russia with the West, like move, set up relations with them, normalize, get the Russian oil back into Europe and move past it so he can focus on China and even maybe work with Russia against China because I mean in many ways uh, the Chinese Russia alliance is kind of not natural because I mean they are historically enemies and and even in modern times they've had disagreements over the fate of the Arctic, so which is now because of climate change, it's becoming more uh, seafarable. I don't know the word, but you can actually use your boats in there because all the ice is melting. You can at least more of it. So I wonder if that's the play. I wonder if that's why Trump has always kind of been a little nice to Russia. Like, do you think he does have like some kind of strategy where he
No,
wants to?
no,
No, you
not
don't
not
think
even a
there's.
little. No, I think he views Putin the same way, he views like Xi and Kim Jong-un. Like I think he just loves how powerful these people are and how people just listen. I think he likes the now he would never use the word authoritarian, but he loves the authoritarian respect that they get within their own country. I think he wants to be looked at by the establishment here in America, like how they look at them over in their countries. Um, and I would say that like in an ideal world, we could, normalize things with Russia and use them against China, right? But the problem with that is that that's not the establishment thinking. And to overcome that, it would take at least 8 years, 12 years, so like two presidents and then a third, like a next president, to like change the institutional thinking, right? You can't just, in one 4 year period go from like your entire, I mean, since the 1990s, since the collapse, the entire goal of entire agencies has been to like contain Russia. And you're not going to overcome that in 4 years, even if you have a man elected president. You know what I mean? Um, now,
Yeah.
and in terms of them being allies with China, to be honest with you, China is really the only one that's winning in this war. Like Russia is bankrupting themselves to a lesser extent. So are we. We're giving a lot of money to this country to fight this war. Really, the only one that's making out like crazy is China because they get oil at a ridiculously discounted price because Russia has to fund this war machine somehow. And, they also get to test out some Chinese, it's like China is selling weapons to Russia. So they get to kind of test, field test some of their weapons. So,
Oh yeah. This conflict's been great for them because we Trump doesn't have the balls to put on secondary sanctions on China. So, I mean, there's really no downside because they're also getting this cheap oil from Iran too, because that's
correct.
another person uh, near them that we're sanctioning the heck out of, and now their only buyers are Chinese. So, yeah, I'm sure in a lot of ways, they're really benefiting from all of this, and
Oh,
it's a shame
100%.
too because we could, I mean, I could see a world where we really put the screws in China if we weren't giving them these handouts basically with the oil. I mean, because as you know, I'm sure China is kind of going through a deflationary period where people just aren't going out and spending money,
Hmm.
and so it's causing prices to decrease. And for our viewers, that might sound pretty good, prices decreasing, and In a limited way, it can be if it doesn't keep occurring, but there is a thing called a deflationary spiral. And if prices keep going down, and that means nobody's spending anything and there's no growth, and therefore your economy will collapse if it goes on long enough. So
Right.
deflation is actually something you don't want, especially for a prolonged period of time. If you have like a month or two of it or a quarter of it, it's not going to kill you. But I mean, if it goes, I mean, they've been hand, they've had this deflation for on and off for years now. So yeah, that I mean,
Yeah,
they're
it's a real
kind of in a
problem.
dire place. Yeah.
Right. And of course, when they're in a dire place, rather than like ratchet up some economic pressure, the Trump administration has decided that we're going to give them, I mean, easily the two biggest opportunities for the Chinese is like energy, which they're getting from Russia and Iran now. So that's
Hmm.
tremendous. And food, which they import from all over the country, both NATO countries and America. They're just a big purchaser of food. All of Asia is, to be honest with you. So
Oh
we're
yeah.
literally helping them out as much as we can when we should be like this should be our moment to see. Now I understand Trump inherited the Ukraine war, and that takes precedence, and I really do understand that. But also, it's like, dude, we can't, you got to help. You got to do something here. This is our chance.
Well, it is true that Trump inherited the war, but I'm not going to let him off the hook in any amount because in his first term he helped spur it on because he was putting weapons into Ukraine in his first term, like long
True.
range or I think it was intermediate range, but it theoretically could strike. It could strike within Russia. So that's part of the reason, not the only reason, of course, but that's part of the reason that uh, Putin invaded.
Right.
So in many ways, it is partially Biden's problem. It's partially Trump's problem. It's well, and if we want to go really far back, I guess we could say it's partially Obama's problem as well. I mean, again, I don't want to strip Russia's agency. Like a lot of these like third worldists or tankies, they always do that. Like, oh, the West made the Russians be evil. But so I'm not saying all of that. It's just I'm saying they have their traditional sphere of influence, and we kept pushing eastward, and now this is kind of the result of that. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, we definitely did our best to like push him into a corner. We kept sticking our nose where it didn't belong, but that does not change the fact at all that Russia invaded Ukraine, right? You know what I mean? And I wasn't trying to give Trump like a scapegoat there. When I said that Trump is, he inherited this war. I was really just trying to say that, like, you know, he could do nothing to prevent it. All he can do is help with the exit strategy. That's really, and he's doing a shit job. So, um, this whole excuse that he does all the time, he said, "This isn't my war. This is Biden's war." It's like, well, it's not going to be Biden's conclusion. You know what I mean? So it's you need to do what you can to make sure that Ukraine gets the best end of this deal and the people quit dying. And at the end of the day, I think Trump is just trying to get an end to this deal as quick as possible. And if that comes at the expense of Ukraine, like sovereignty, then it is what it is, which is
Yeah, I
bullshit.
mean, yeah, it's a shame, honestly. The Ukrainians, or I guess Ukraine, is not strategically important to us. Is the good news? I guess. I mean, they don't have that many natural resources. They have the warm water port, which Russia really wants, but we already have that. We have Texas.
Right.
Uh, yeah, there. I mean, so for us, I mean, in the fact that they're not in NATO, it's not a big deal if they lose. However, it maybe does weaken our deterrent power a little. But I think if we can make a clean exit, I think it. I think we can still, even if there's a Ukrainian loss, I think we can still come out of this looking okay because I mean, we gave them a lot of weapons, but I mean, it's still a country where a ton of people deserted and defected and fled, and they've held their own against, a quasi superpower for this long. I mean, that's really impressive, and Russia is like 5 or 6 times their size population wise, and I mean, they have way more of an industrial base. I'm proud of Ukraine. I think, I mean, not to be just giving out participation ribbons, but I mean, I think Ukraine has done the best they could with what they had. And I mean, at this point, it's always hard to gauge because you never really know what it's like on the battlefield. You hear so many conflicting things, but I really do think, from what I've been hearing lately, and Trump's like insistence on all these meetings, I really think things are looking pretty dire for the Ukrainians. So, yeah, I think, maybe give up 20% of Ukraine or more, let them keep as much land as they can. Hopefully, they don't have to demilitarize and live to fight another day, birth a new generation of Ukrainians for when Russia attacks again,
Inevitably
perhaps.
attacks again.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the solution. Honestly, to me, the only solution would be to go over there and just kill Vladimir Putin with uh, American and European forces. France, the UK, Germany. We could certainly do it, and if we had the balls, I mean, okay,
No,
what if we just started
no,
amassing troops in Alaska and then over, uh, you know, in
no.
Eastern Europe?
The
Yeah, yeah,
no,
NATO
the
troops in Eastern Europe.
no, the escalation is not the way to go here. You're talking about a nuclear power, Darren. Okay.
Well,
If
yeah,
we
but if he started using them, we'd kill him. He knows that. He would just take it, and he would take it.
Well, listen, you're trying to like play a game of chicken here with a dude who's a little bit psychotic. You know what I mean? So I would not recommend doing this. Especially you shouldn't really do a military outcome that either A, you don't need to do, or B, you don't know the outcome for certain. Okay? If you don't know those two things, you probably shouldn't do it. If you're relying on the restraint or the resilience of your enemies, I feel like it's a bad calculation. Just rule of thumb, you know? Because what if he goes fucking nuts, you know?
That is always a possibility. I just think it's so low a possibility that I would be willing to attack the Russian mainland.
Oh, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. No, no,
I don't think he's like a psycho. I mean, all these leaders are where they are because they're sophisticated. They're smart enough. They know that it would be the end of the Russian people if he sent even one nuke our way. So
no. No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you're relying on the restraint of a guy who is, um, you know, just a little fucking crazy, right? I mean, just the fact, or paranoid, maybe paranoid's the right word. I mean, that's the whole reason he invaded to begin with. He was paranoid that they were going to join NATO, you know? So,
Well, it's an unfortunate state of affairs, but I mean, superpowers are gonna,
and you're
you
arguing,
know, neutral.
you're literally arguing for a regime change in Russia. You're just like, yeah, we just go in, take out Putin, knock him out, call it good.
I'd be good with that. Yeah, I'd be good with that.
Yeah, that's just fucking shocker. Um, I just don't know if it's too bright because what if they're worse? That's always the question with regime change. So, and what
Well, we could just pick for
would
them.
we occupy them? Oh, okay, yeah. So the see, this is
Yeah.
unrealistic. Yeah,
No,
see, no,
no,
no, you
I
can't,
would be okay. I would be okay with taking their territory for ourselves.
you can't do that. They're a nuclear power.
Well, we'll just confiscate the nukes.
This is not a realistic conversation. We're gonna move on. This is
No, no, no. It's a risky business because the
risky.
custody of
It's
the nukes,
risky. That's what you're gonna say.
the custody of the nukes would be in question. They have the most nukes of anyone, so that would be a worrisome element. But I think we could pull it off. I truly think we could occupy them, humiliate them,
This is
demilitarize
silly.
them.
This
We
is
could.
so silly. This is
Us
unbelievably.
and Europe could
Stop it.
easily do this. Europe and
We
us
would
could. There's
win. We would win. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you get them backed against a corner and they have more nukes than the rest of the world combined, damn near, then why would you put yourself in a position where they might point those at you? That just makes no sense. This is a Trump idea.
so we could
This is how
expand our
ridiculous this
so we
is. This is
can
a Trump
expand our
idea.
empire and show the world who's boss. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth the risk, personally. If I were Trump, I would be amassing troops uh, in the West and to the
Hey
east of
guys,
Russia.
remember earlier in this conversation he says, "I consider myself anti-war." You're so full of it.
Well, I'm anti-war when it comes to things that don't matter. I'm anti-war when it comes to supporting Israel's war in Palestine.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah,
against
yeah, yeah.
that.
So it always comes back to them. You know what I mean? I'm anti-war when it comes
Yeah.
to them, but
Well,
when it comes to our empire, I'm totally cool. When it comes for supporting Greater
exactly.
Israel, though,
We need to
that's when we
we
draw the
need to
line.
expand our empire. We need to expand our empire. The Russian people should learn English, and we should own them.
All right, this
Quite
is so
frankly,
not serious.
there
This
are
is so
historic no,
not
they
serious.
have been an enemy for a long time, and it's about time we really put them in their place. And they have tons of resources and industrial base we can exploit. Imagine if Russia became the 51st state.
Well,
Think how much wealth we would have. We could exploit all those resources.
this none of this makes any sense, Darren. You're trolling. Just stop. Just stop it. Just
I mean, it no, honestly, like I'm being for real. I'm being for real. Like logistically, I know it would be so challenging, but this is like my vision of like I truly want the American empire to be to encompass the entire globe. Like I want control of all of these countries, and Russia and China are the only ones that would ever, at this moment, they are the only ones that would ever pose a serious threat to us. So knocking them off, knocking Russia off, and being able to exploit their resources for ourselves, China would be the only one standing. And if Russia wasn't, you know, no longer their ally, we could so much more easily contain them.
I
And
just
I just want like a visionary leader to come in and like conquer the world for us.
I cannot believe this deserves its own podcast. What you're talking about right here. I'm actually gonna write it down because this is tremendous. But ultimately, which just rewinding to the original point, you would say that you're a little upset with how this went.
Yeah, I was really hoping he would lay down the law on Putin, and he didn't.
I gotcha. Well, if there's nothing else, we can go ahead and switch to our next one if you're ready.
Yeah, you want to bring us in
Yeah,
on
I
it?
gotcha. So, as everyone who has been saying, this one's a little bit of an older issue, but we're still going to hit on it. So, um, obviously, with all of the nightmare things going on in this country right now, Donald Trump has made and Mike Johnson have made a pretty serious calculation, and that is we are going to lose the House of Representatives in the midterms. This is not looking good. And it's still early, so it could still get way worse. So, they're like, okay, what are we going to do here? Rather than campaign, build a platform, run on the accomplishments, they're like, okay, how do we give ourselves some cushion for this shellacking we're going to take in November of 2026? So Trump asked Texas Governor Greg Abbott to redraw their district to basically gerrymander five additional seats. And so, for the audience that doesn't know, partisan gerrymandering is legal, it is constitutionally allowed, and it is completely within the purview of the state government. But what is unique here and why this is different is they've always been done the first cycle after a census, which is every 10 years. So, this mid cycle redistricting has never been done before. Certainly not in our lifetimes, at least. So, and the only reason they're doing this is not because there was some massive wave in Texas and they got to account for that, or they think that the census was so wrong that they got to redraw it to make it more aligned with their populations. It's literally just so that way they can rig it to get five more Republican seats. It's the only reason. And so the Texas Democrats decided they were going to leave the state because the Texas state constitution has a rule that says at least two-thirds of the population, or not of the population, of the representatives have to be there to have what they call a quorum. So the Texas, and this is not the first time they've used that, they literally just fled the state. Like 52 of them fled the state of Texas because they were like, well, we got to get out of here or they're going to rig this election. Um, and so that's where we are right now. This is a minority power in the state of Texas, and this is the only thing keeping this from happening. And let's start there. Um, Darren, this is my question to you, just kind of broadly speaking right now. Do you have a strong opinion on partisan gerrymandering?
No, I'm totally in favor of it. If like, look, I want it for my friends, and I don't want it for my enemies. So I mean, insofar as I support the Republicans, I want the Republicans to be, gerrymandering and do it even as blatantly as this. I love it. And as for the Democrat, as for California and New York, I hope that they're not able to. I hope that when Texas eventually does, gerrymander and set these districts in stone, so to speak, I hope that California and New York aren't able to reciprocate, and I think they will be able to. They have some guardrails in place, kind of preventing them from doing so right now, but I think they'll be able to overturn them. But I hope that they won't be able to because I mean that's power. That's power, baby. Just taking what is yours and not even caring about the process or fairness or any of that. It all that slave morality. This is Nietzschean, baby. This is what Nietzsche talked about in terms of the master versus the slave. We're taking power and we're not apologizing. So I love it.
See, but this is what I don't understand. I could totally understand the rationale from if you're a Republican politician or a Democratic politician, but you're just a citizen. You and I are I mean, we're not partisan, right? We're not partisan to the extent that like Greg Abbott and Trump are, right? So why would you support partisan gerrymandering?
Because I lean more so in favor of the party that's doing it right now in Texas.
I gotcha. Okay, so this is not a principled thing. This is like a political calculus. This is just like whatever we got to do to, maintain power. Let's do it.
Pretty much. I mean, it's principled in the sense that I want my in group to win, and I want the out group to lose, and I'm consistent in that.
See, I feel like we're using overly broad terms here to define our way into something that's logically consistent. And I'm not gonna let you get away with it here. It's not a principled thing. It's just stop it. Um, but
Well.
here's
It's not an egalitarian principle. It's not a principle of fairness. I guess it's a principle of
you
it's a
have
different kind of
you
principle
have
altogether.
you have a different set of rules inside the same system based on political affiliation. That is by definition, I would say, not principled. Okay. Like it's
Well,
what I mean, what the fuck? Why are you fighting on this definition? Like I don't understand. I know you don't actually care, you know?
Well,
It's
the connotation of principle, I don't know. I don't want to get trapped in a semantics game, but I totally understand what you mean by principle. But I guess my definition of principle, I'm thinking of it, principle not so rigidly defined. You know, not necessarily related to egalitarianism, but
okay, fair. Okay, well, fair enough. Anyway, all I'm saying is this. We'll just ignore that semantics for now, okay? But here's why this doesn't make any sense to me because all you're doing is and not you, but obviously the Texas Republicans, all they're doing is basically starting an arms race of redistricting. And do we really this is just going to erode our democracy for what? An additional 5 seats in the House? This just seems like an unbelievably huge like take on our democracy, and for what? Just what 5 seats? And I understand you could make the argument that it adds up if every state in the union did this, but do we really want to live in a world where they just redraw a map every 2 years?
uh yeah, again, like I think it's one of these things that ultimately it probably is bad for democracy, but I'm okay with like pooping on democracy in order to get what I want. Like I don't know, like I'm trying to
Yeah, so
because
see,
ultimately the Republicans kind of have dropped the pretense, especially in recent years. And but the Democrats, they actually do value these like fairness and things like this. Uh so I think to the extent that we can play Democrats own like love of process and their own morality against them in order to further our own ends, I think we should just go for it full steam ahead because while we're taking power, they're going to be debating amongst themselves in their little committees like, oh, but is that democratic for us to do this? Is strategy more important than principles or, you know?
outcomes, right?
Oh, yeah. So I think strike while the iron is hot, do it now while the Democrats still are in their principled phase and aren't going full dark woke, like Newsom and just going for it. I'd just say, yeah, do it now while you can and take power and never let the Democrats have any. That would be respectable. That would be respectable.
Yeah, so I guess that's true. So my arguments, the ones that I have listed here, and the thought process I used to get there, really only applies if you believe that democracy is a core value of this country and it's a good, right? So if you don't buy into that and democracy is more or less just a way for you to maintain power and control over the masses, then I absolutely understand where you're coming from. I just think that it's fundamentally a little un-American. I think it's a little, this country was founded on the idea of like a rigid set of rules for democracy and governing, right? And, currently we do not really. I mean, like you said, the Republican Party has basically given up on that idea, and it seems like almost like smug and elitist to be like, "Well, I care about democracy," but I can't believe I even have to say that, but I do, So it used to be, like you said, a presumption of American politics, but now it is super not. And a lot of that, I think, starts with Trump, but I think Trump is more of a symptom for that. And I fear a world, and there's a bunch of lefties that are really excited for this because what you've allowed basically is a widening of the overtone. So what happens if I don't know, an AOC gets in there and she just starts doing all these, power grabs? Are you just like that's the cost of doing business, or what?
Well, I'll play her own morality against her. If she claims to care about fairness, then I'll exploit that and say, hey, you're being unfair. You're going against your principles. But ultimately, I can't blame her for it when she does do it. But that's not what I'm going to say to the masses.
Right.
To
Well,
the
that's
masses,
well,
I'll.
that's sort of what I'm saying is that like let's say for example like Newsom gets in there and he goes full on dark woke. He does the same stuff Trump is doing, where he's just kind of going way out of bounds and he's just like, well, take me to court in 2 years. Those types of things. Um, if he does that, are you just going to be like, well, I mean, that's just kind of like that's the risk we played whenever we drew these battle lines? Or are you gonna like revert back to like genuinely revert back to like, well, okay, so I apologize for the bad wording here because I'm kind of confused on how to question this, but your position is almost literally you're gonna weaponize the legal system and the structure of our democracy whenever it doesn't benefit you. And then whenever it does benefit you to ignore them, you're literally just gonna ignore them unless they like almost physically stop you.
Yep.
All right, I'm sorry.
So,
I don't know why I didn't just start there. Okay, so you
yeah,
think that this
well,
is
let me.
awesome?
Yeah, I love it. And honestly, like, even though I don't want the Democrats to have more power, and I do want the Democrats to remain demoralized for the near and the far future. I gotta give a lot of respect to old Gavin Newsom. He's really come out as the leader of the pack in terms of you know major national uh, Democrats. In terms of people who I could see running for being the Democratic presidential nominee in 2028. Gavin has really proven himself. He's coming out swinging. He's proposing, doing gerrymandering of his own. I don't know if you've been on Twitter and have seen it lately, but he's saying just hilarious stuff. Really, really good. His account and then also his press office account. Really great stuff. I mean, very funny. Uh, and I respect it. I respect a man who tries to grab power, even if he's, at least on some level, an adversary. I respect it. And as far as Democrats go, I would much prefer Gavin Newsom over like an AOC or something like that. I feel like Gavin is kind of like I don't know. He doesn't really have that many principles. It doesn't seem. It seems to me his only principle is power. So I think there's opportunity there. I think if he could become a little more centrist, that could be a very competent manager of the American empire in the future, and he would be a good leader. I wouldn't agree on a lot of the things he would likely do, but I think his competence would make his bad ideas more muted. So I'm all for it. I'd much prefer uh, Gavin Newsom a Gavin Newsom presidency over a JD Vance presidency or something like that. So,
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. As a matter of fact, he's trying to position himself right now as a candidate for 2028. That's what all this is. You know what I mean? And I understand that you probably figured that part out. Um, but he's already doing that almighty rush to the center. You know what I mean? Like he's already moved more to the center on trans issues, specifically all sorts of social issues, except for obviously being pro-choice. He's unapologetically pro-choice, but everything else, it's been the rush to the center, and um, I think that he can still win on a lot of the economic left-wing issues. Those tend to poll better anyway. It's really the social issues that kill the Democratic Party nationally, right? I mean, you just can't get over how, you know, repulsed you feel by some of this stuff because it's, in your mind, degeneracy. So if he can get a hold on that, I think he's going to be a formidable candidate.
yeah, as it stands, I'm if he's running, and especially if he gets the nomination, I'm very excited for 2028. That's he's the exact type of figure I want uh, running on the Democratic side. I Because right now our top contender in the Republican side is JD Vance, and there is nothing about JD Vance that excites me. So,
Well, here, if you don't
uh,
mind, let's I know it's a little off topic from the gerrymandering, but I'm totally down to go down this rabbit hole. If I just named a bunch of like political candidates, you tell me who you'd rather have as president, them or Gavin Newsom. Does that make sense?
okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay, we'll
That's
start.
interesting,
We'll
and
start
I'll do
on.
the same with you, I guess.
Yeah, of course, yeah, and I'll go ahead and I'll answer after each one of these as well. So we'll do just the Democrats for right this second, and then we'll switch over to the Republican potentials. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Newsom or uh Buttigieg
Newsom all the way. I could never respect Pete. Uh,
for
I
obvious reasons for you, right?
Yeah, for reasons I won't say on this podcast because we're on
Okay.
YouTube, but I'm sure everybody gets the subtext.
It's a
Uh,
it's a tough one. I would probably take Newsom only because he has like executive branch experience that, to be honest with you, Pete just doesn't have. So it's a narrow
well,
margin, but it is Newsom for me. Go ahead.
the narrow margin kind of surprises me. What makes you like Buttigieg so much? It's to me, it's like there's a gulf between them. But I have my reasons.
Well, I
Why are they
think
so close for you?
Yeah, well, so for me, it's the ability of Buttigieg to message. So I think the Democratic Party has had a problem really since at least Obama of messaging, right? And I think like when Buttigieg goes to these town halls and he goes to these Fox News interviews or he goes on Jubilee, I think he just crushes. I think he has a very good skill of taking, something that is incredibly complex, distilling it down to something the average voter can understand, and not only understand but can care about and motivate them and engage them. And that's an incredibly useful skill in politics. And for that, I don't know if there's many people better in the country at that than Pete. But when it comes to like once you actually win the race and you're in the office of the presidency, that doesn't matter anymore. So, then it becomes like, how good of an administrator are you? Which, clearly that's Newsom, And plus, Newsom has never had to compromise either. So, like, he's always had a Democratic supermajority. He's never had to sit across the aisle and make a deal. So, versus Buttigieg, he was in the Biden administration and he had to sit down and talk with Republicans to get a lot of Build Back Better back. So, or sorry, the Inflation Reduction Act passed. So,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I apologize
I
for the ramble, but
No, no, you didn't ramble at all. Those are all great points. But on your point of messaging, though, I guess I want to offer my piece.
Mhm.
I've always found Gavin as a more effective messenger. I whenever he talks, I don't know. I actually get kind of okay. I'm not gonna word it the way I was about to word it, but I get okay, excited, but
Hmm.
not like pause, but like I don't know. I find Gavin really compelling. He's funny and he's like a Chad, right? Like he's such a Chad. Like he's
He's the
got the
all-American
president
guy, right?
look.
He's literally a white picket fence, golden retriever family, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and he gets like okay. This doesn't matter, but like he gets like mad tail too. Like he's gotten mad tail in his time. Pete Buttigieg is over there with Chasen. Is that his husband's name? Chasen? I think that's his
Is
name.
it Chaston or Jason? I don't know. His partner's name, I don't know.
It's one of those Chasten or Chasen. It's like, ugh. It's like we need a Chad. Pete. Okay, I'm 5'8", so I shouldn't criticize. But Pete is like 5'8", right?
I think so.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. You're gonna like see, and if he was
Are
like
you
really like ripped, it would be different. But like
are you
you're gonna
fucking with
see
me right now? Are you fucking with me right now? This is the president of the United States.
the look is so important
I feel
because
like
okay,
the
we
look
were
is
talking about
supposed to be important to like people who don't know anything about politics or like, anything like that. But you're telling me you, a politically engaged person, care about a dude's height, their fitness, their okay. Go on. Continue.
yes, yes. Because okay, look, with just to go back to the Trump Putin thing, Trump obviously was losing that interaction, but Trump still height mogged Putin because Putin's like 5'4" or something. I don't think he's that short, but he's very short. He's probably 5'6". So I do think it is important just for an optics thing. It's also important for winning. People want to see a strong guy. They don't want to see someone they perceive as possibly weak. If Pete grew a beard and like maybe started working out, he'd probably need to take some steroids and get bulky before 2028. He'd probably need to get a different haircut as well. It's going to take a lot to overcome, the gulf between him and Gavin in terms of looks. So
Okay. All right. Well,
for
that's
me,
fair.
Gavin's
Okay. Okay. So Gavin or AOC?
Gavin all the
Me
way.
too.
Gavin all the
Me
way.
too.
Yeah,
Gavin
AOC. I
or
mean,
Gavin or Bernie?
Gavin. Gavin
Okay.
all the way. I mean,
I
Bernie might die is a big reason, but
Yeah. I just think we need new blood. I'll tell you what, I would love to name off some of the governors, like, Pritzker, Andy Beshear, and Whitmer. But to be honest with you, I don't really know enough, so I just go with Newsom just because I know him. But I think Beshear has a real chance. He's the governor of Kentucky. He's Democrat.
Bashir, uh, out of Pritzker and the other the lady,
Whitmer,
what was
Whitmer,
Whitmer. Oh my gosh,
Gretchen.
I don't know why, but I get her mixed up with other people. Anyways, Pritzker is just he's morbidly obese. It's like Chris Christie level bad. So that's just not something I want to see in a president. And to me, that's enough to disqualify him, honestly. Bashir, he impresses me in terms of his ability to communicate. He's a little dopey looking. I think Newsom still has him beat in that regard. And I do think, looks and communication skills really matter the most when we're talking about these figures because ultimately, what are the policy differences between a Newsom, a Bashir, a Whitmer, a Pritzker? very,
Marginal. Yeah,
it's
not very
all,
much.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's not.
Well then
So,
let's have some more fun then.
okay, okay.
Okay. So Newsom or Vance?
Newsom.
Newsom
I
or
see.
Rubio? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just to expound upon this, I see Vance as a malevolent force almost. He's a creation of Peter Thiel. He's possibly evil on a level that even Gavin Newsom isn't. So, and he's a dork, which makes it worse. So, he's just not presidential material. Uh, but I won't. We can save my whole ranting about JD Vance for another episode because it might require a deep dive.
Just go ahead and start writing all those notes down because I got a feeling he's going to be running in 28. So, okay. So,
Oh yeah,
speaking of other candidates, Newsom or Rubio?
Newsom, Newsom all the way. There's no value in Rubio. What? But oh, sorry, I don't think you opined it. What do you think about? I mean, I assume you would pick Newsom over these guys, but am I
Yeah.
right in that
Oh, yeah.
assumption?
Almost every single one. I say almost in the off chance. I'll just say every single one. I'll just say every single. Who the fuck am I kidding? Um, yeah. For obvious reasons, I can't. Anyone who is at all attached to this Trump administration when they know better. That's my thing about these Republicans. They know better, and they're still just kowtowing. So, yeah. Okay. So Gavin Newsom or DeSantis?
Newsom, 100. DeSantis is
Cuck.
another dork.
Yeah. Probably shouldn't say that about a governor, right? um, Newsom or Ted Cruz?
Newsom. Ted Cruz has no charisma, and he's a slave to Israel, so there's just
Okay.
no value in him.
I don't think he'll run. I just want to preface it with that. But Newsom or Thomas Massey?
Ooh,
I'm not gonna lie,
I
it would be tough for me to vote against Massey.
that's surprise. I would choose Thomas Massey, probably, and it probably wouldn't even be a hard choice for me, even though I do kind of like Newsom. But and even though Thomas Massey is a libertarian, which I'm not a big fan of, I think he would probably be better on a lot of social issues, and I know for a fact he would be better on foreign policy, at least regarding
Yeah, yeah,
affairs in
yeah,
the
yeah,
Middle East. So,
yeah.
so Thomas Massey, and yeah, even though I like Newsom a lot.
I'm probably the same. Just I would probably still lean Newsom, to be honest with you. Mostly just because I'm opposed to pretty much all libertarian. I'll say theology at this point, but I when they're right though, and he's definitely right on foreign policy. He's right when it comes to the debt. The problem is, I think that Newsom's ability to like balance a budget is going to be significantly better. So he's really one of the only ones that's done it in the modern era. So
Yeah, in terms of economics, it's I don't really disagree with you. I mean, I think libertarianism is foolish, but uh in terms of just like foreign policy and social issues, which kind of tug at my heartstrings a tad bit more, I just think Thomas Massey would be better. But I, yeah, I don't disagree that in terms of economic health, that Newsom would probably be better.
without a doubt. Is there anyone major I'm missing here? Um, Nikki
Mm.
Haley or Gavin Newsom?
Oh, Newsom all the way. Yeah,
Fair enough. Well, all right. Well, you tell me what you want to do from here, because this was fun. But tell me if there's anyone I'm missing, or if you just want to wrap this puppy
Mm.
up. It's up to you.
I'm trying to think of any contenders that are like really notable in any way, and really nobody exceptional has appeared on the Republican side. And you really hit all the Democrats. I mean, all the ones that everyone expects to run. So, uh, yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I think we really hit all the contenders. I just can't think of, other than maybe an oddball celebrity, I don't think I can think of anyone else who might actually run who would have a good chance. I think we hit everyone.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro. I don't know how I missed him, but I mean, I feel like
Oh, that guy.
he's got a fair chance of in the primaries.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I feel like his whole thing in 2024 was a tad astroturfed, like when they were gunning for him to be VP for Kamala or
Hmm.
something. Uh, because, I mean, pretty much as soon as that election was over, he faded from relevance. The only other time he's popped up was when somebody went to his house to try to kill him and his family. And I
Right.
remember that news story, but other than that, I haven't heard from him. Same for Tim Walz. Haven't heard anything from him, so I don't think he's a national figure either. I think they'll both fade into obscurity. So, yeah, yeah, I think I don't think they have much of a chance.
Yeah, I think you're right, probably. And you're talking to a guy who's like, I'm a huge Tim Walz fan. But I I just think that he's not everyone's cup of tea for sure, you know? So,
Yeah, he's just kind of a dork, sadly, because
yeah, yeah, no, I get you. Well, it's weird because like he's really into like cars, he's really into football, he hunts, but he comes across as like the Midwestern dork dad. And there's really just no getting around. It's just the way you look. It's the aura. It's it's not fair, but it is the way it is.
yeah, it really isn't. Because if he was like a Chad and he got some of his mannerisms under control, he would actually be appealing. But unfortunately, he's kind of, I don't know, he kind of looks like a Muppet, you know? So,
Right. If he looked like Gavin Newsom, I think you'd be completely flipped, to tell you the truth. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah. And if he had the communication skills, because Gavin also has aura that, which is almost beyond, it almost transcends just looks alone. So,
you know,
yeah.
I yeah, and I agree. Gavin Newsom is he's going to be a formidable. Not to have an entire we need to probably have one on Newsom at some point. We will in the future for sure. Because it's an open race, so we'll probably do a podcast about the Republicans and the Democrats. So,
I
this should be
imagine we'll
fun.
have an episode over each contender at some point when 2028 comes around.